So it turns out that everything we hold dear from the 90s and 2000s TV-wise, all of our fondest memories laughing together on the sitting room couch with mummy, daddy and the cousins, now is poisoned with the stench of hardcore paedophilia. On the shows we watched, iCarly, Drake and Josh, all that, Keenan and Kel probably, the people doing that fantastic work had an unquenchable penchant for sexual acts with kids. That is a tough pill to swallow. So the first bit of the documentary basically talks about how this guy Dan Schneider shoehorned into his sketches on the Amanda Show and so on quite graphic double entendre. You've got Ariana Grande trying to squeeze spunk out of a potato. You've got jizz shots. You've got kids having to wear cock costumes that are supposed to be big nose costumes. And it's a tricky one to sort of negotiate because I was watching Earthworm Jim about 15, 20 years ago and I realized, wow, Earthworm Jim was full of double entendre.
Quick, your tape player! You're not gonna get custard on it again, are you?
And I think what double entendre can do in family television or kids television is it can bring the adults in as well. But Earthworm Jim was an animation and there's something kind of dark and disgusting about involving kids in those types of gags because you're corrupting their innocence. Now, my big issue with this documentary is that, yes, Brian Peck is a qualified paedophile. This other guy, Jason Handy or somebody, he had a big stash of child porno. That's like legitimate charges. But also what they include in the first ep of this doc is like these two big fat smelly women complaining about how they were treated badly. And so a lot of what you'll hear from the adults in this documentary is like, oh, this was so terrible. Dan Schneider alluded to golden showers with kids. And we couldn't say anything. We couldn't say anything because we were afraid of our jobs. How fucking pathetic is that? You know, and the only thing these two women complain about in the documentary is that they had to split a salary. In the same episode that they are complaining about kids being involved in sexual gags, that is like doing a documentary on how the Jews were gassed in chambers in the Holocaust and also including a bit about how some of the Nazi officers weren't fairly paid. I mean, that's fucking crazy. So yeah, guys, paedophilia, I'm all against paedophilia. But when you try to incorporate into a story accusations of racism, homophobia, and misogyny, you're a walking cringe fest and you're evil because you're equating paedophilia with the crime of being politically incorrect. This black actor complaining that Dan Schneider had him in an all brown costume and he was the youngest rapper alive and he was Lil Fetus. That's fucking hilarious.
Yo, Lil Fetus in the womb, yeah.
And that's pre the mumble rap year of 2017. It's visionary as well. Lil Pump, Lil Peep, Lil Xan. This big fat woman says, oh, Dan Schneider once came up to me and said,
he said women can't write funny. Challenged us to name a funny female writer.
And then she goes, that was the moment I found out. And I was thinking she's going to say, Dan Schneider's a fucking legend. That's hilarious. But no, she goes, he hates women or whatever. Dan Schneider once asked us, hey, do you mind if I refer to you two as the girls? They go, no, we don't mind if you refer to us as the girls. Oh God, I hate when women are all uptight about that kind of crap. But that type of energy which exists in female workplaces is death to a creative environment. Some of the accusations are just loosey-goosey. You've got this chick from Zoe 101 who's going, oh, he made us wear bikinis. That ain't the same thing, bro. That's not the same thing as the cum shot. Now, the biggest victim in this documentary is Drake Bell, who was raped by Brian Peck. Brian Peck served some time for some charges. I don't know if he was convicted on everything, so I'm going to say allegedly. And who does Drake Bell say that was the only one to comfort him at that time? Dan Schneider. You've got this female actress complaining that she was let go after she aged out of the part. That ain't ageism, ho. That's life. Like, are we actually going to say that you lost because you, for a while, had a fantastic experience, well paid probably, you were famous, you got a great platform, and you didn't manage to keep it going? You weren't good enough. And like this guy goes, oh, I just wanted to get my family out the hood and my career didn't work out well in the end and I got let go of the show because my mom was causing trouble. Let's stop talking about get my family out the hood. It's so played out and boring. I don't want to get my family out the hood. I didn't grow up in the hood. I grew up in a leafy south side suburb. with spacious roads and low crime. Sue me. One thing about Drake Bell you can see when they do this big Netflix style reveal, which, guys, that's played out. Come up with a new narrative tool to reveal bombshell moments in documentaries than sitting into a chair to some solemn music. Drake Bell ain't drinking that adrenochrome. He has aged horribly. And so have I, a bit. And I was thinking about something else that me and Drake have in common. We both have no upper lip. A lot of guys get a lip filler now for that. When Drake Bell's dad complained about how Brian Peck was acting around Drake Bell, they accused him of homophobia. And by the way, Drake Bell, who was charged with being a pedo 2 years ago, lewd text messages to a minor. And the documentary, because they want to establish a narrative, kids versus adults, imbalance of power, they spend 4 seconds on the Drake Bell shit, and he just goes, oh, media misinformation, whatever, and they just let him away with it. Drake Bell is guiltier than Dan Schneider in this. That's a fact. That's why he fucked off to literally Mexico to relaunch his career as Drake Le Campagna. And he's released a single about the woes of child stardom just as the documentaries come out. He's rehabilitating his image. Dan Schneider stepped over the line in terms of some of the innuendos and sexual gags on the kids' shows to make great shows. Just like this documentary has stepped over the line and used artistic license, which they never should in a documentary, in order to make a great show themselves. And yet they have no empathy for him. Anyway, guys, that was my thoughts on Quiet on Set, this new documentary. Thanks so much for watching.